On to make a short video. Wasn't able to get out today to join in any of the sit-ins that happened around town. Want to give a special shout out to Resist Tyranny Tuesday. They were on 4th and Lomas. A bunch of them sat down, had signs about humanity, how not handcuffs. Thank you so very much to our allies out there on the streets, just showing how incredibly cruel it is to criminalize sitting. Sitting is something we do when we rest. Lying down is something we do when we rest. It is very important that the attention is on the cruelty of Ordinance 02614 because it criminalizes acts that are very legal. Sitting, lying down, sleeping, those are legal activities. We do them every day. To have our unhoused folks unsheltered and then try and say, oh, we're being compassionate by putting them in shelter. That shelter is what? Involuntary placement in the jail. That is not an alternative to or compassionate to having people housed. See, it's housing or incarceration. Those are the choices that you're giving these people, and there is no housing. So basically you're just incarcerating, and that is not compassionate. And that's why our friends are out on the streets, sitting down, holding signs. And hey, Keller, you had a whole bunch of people sitting down on sidewalks today. Did you ticket any of them? Were APD, IPS, Metro, did any of them go over there and ticket any of those people? Because they have ticketed people, unhoused people on the other parts of town, but you didn't ticket them. Why is that? They were sitting down as well. What's the difference? Yeah, we all know what the difference is. This bill is intended, Keller, to get people out of people's eyesight, and because you don't want to have folks seen, and these are human beings, so yeah, they get to be seen. And until there's housing, and there's enough housing, or there's rehab, or there's actually case managers intervening, right? So you've heard from the community who advocates and does case management out on the streets, and they are saying they need people, boots on the ground, people to do intervention with folks. That's how you build trust. Quadrants is what the folks want to divide the city into quadrants, put teams in each of those quadrants, get to know those folks. There's trust that needs to be rebuilt. You can't just say to someone who has been surviving and spectacularly found ways to stay alive in this city, and you're saying to them, you got to give all that up and the community that you have around you, because they hang out in groups of 4 or 5, right? Because that's their little family. That's how they stay safe, especially the females out on our streets. And so you're saying to them they have to give up their safety and what they have built as far as mental health encouragement, right? They've got folks with them. They take care of each other, all right? And to divide them up and say, you have to go into housing, but you can't take your friends with you, because that's what we say, right? You qualify, but the other 5 or 4 don't. And so that's sometimes why folks don't want to go into housing, because they'd be by themselves and they don't know how to do stuff, or they don't feel comfortable doing stuff, and they need help, and they want their support, their sisters and brothers and with them. And so we have to figure out ways that we get folks into housing, in transitional housing as well, right? So talked to one human being, and they have their whole entire life from when their parents, their mom was out on the streets, they grew up on our streets. And so this is really all they know. They have had times where they have been in and out of housing, but they don't know how to set up electricity. They don't know how to get their gas turned on. They don't know how to get water, where to go to get their water turned on and stuff. Okay, so there's a lot of skills that folks just need help with, right? We all had help. We had our parents, and we had our generational supports that taught us how to do things. And so it's not that they're dumb or they're not intelligent. They just have not had an opportunity. They have not learned, right? And so we need folks who can get out there and help them, plus to get them connected to the services that they absolutely deserve, right? Their SNAP benefits, their Social Security. We have veterans out here that could be getting VA benefits that need to get connected, okay? We have folks who aged out of CYFD, and so they could possibly be getting SSI benefits. These are all things that could pay for housing, but we have to have people on the ground talking to them, interacting with them, getting trust with them, and we have to be genuine as we are going out, right? Because we have had groups who have come into Albuquerque who took money from the city. These people's money saying they were going to get them into housing, and then they did not. And the city got bamboozled, and these people got bamboozled. Also, the shelter, West Side Shelter, used to be rape central, okay, because there were drug dealers, etc., menacing those folks out there. We got staff out there now that are menacing and hurting people. So no, nobody wants to go to the West Side Shelter because it's not safe. All right. And so to say, back again, 02614 is not a compassionate alternative to folks living out on the streets, because there's no mental health services out at MDC, right? Got one doctor, 1 day a week, and they're not getting the services and help they need. That's why you need to look at MDC has had a lot more deaths, and those are, then people need to be suing the hell out of whomever is in charge over there at MDC during those shifts, all of them. Okay, the staff are saying that they're understaffed. Okay, so we got correctional officers who are saying they want help out there, right? And they need training. They need compassionate, trauma-informed training at MDC and at the West Side Shelter. So we can do better all the way around. We cannot enforce 02614 until, in good conscience and good faith, we can say the services and the support is in place, and we can then say to someone, right, here are all the alternatives. Here are the ways we are going to help you. That's not happening now. People are not getting the help that they need. Yes, there are folks out advocating. Yes, there are people out giving direct services. But when they try to get housing or housing vouchers, even the case managers and these nonprofits and these organizations, they themselves are not able to get even things like a wheelchair. All right. So there are not services. Okay. You guys need to get informed. There are not services that are easy to manage, and you can't just say to someone who's sleeping on the street, oh, hey, you want a street? Follow me, get in the truck, and let's go. And we'll put you in a house. That's not how it works. And the folks who want to get a job, right? Maybe they need a shave, they need to get cleaned up. Where are they supposed to do all that? Right? Maybe they don't know that there are places in town that you can get a shower every day, and that, right, health services. Maybe they're new in town. We don't know. We have so many new people that come into town, and they come to Albuquerque from surrounding towns, Moriarty, right, around, because those folks don't have, those cities don't have services. We have parts of our city that intentionally the bus doesn't go up there, and there's no services up in the foothill areas, etc. Right? So everybody that comes downtown, because that's where the services are. So I'm very thankful today for our allies that were out sitting and demonstrating the foolishness and the inequity in this bill. It cannot be enforced. It's constitutionally violations of multiple civil rights, and then because the bill is also, or the enforcement of that ordinance is also wishy-washy and unequal, and it's a constitutional problem. So thank you to our allies out at Resist Tyranny Tuesday, who are exposing not only the cruelty of the bill, but the inequality, and I'm just going to say, right, there's a bit of classism. No, it's not a bit. There's a whole lot of classism, Baca and Keller, in your bill, because it's going to be enforced by the people who are the poorest, right? $500 ticket or go to jail for 30 days. Of course you knew nobody could afford that, right? I get paid pretty well, and I couldn't afford $500, and I wouldn't pay $500 anyways. I'd go sit in jail for 30 days, and of course you're going to be hearing from attorneys. So thank you to ACLU and to the attorneys in town and across New Mexico who have agreed to take up the cause of folks who are going to be protesting. So yes, if you're going to be out this year, this summer, and you're going to be participating in sit-ins, etc., and you have an officer or an PSA, right? They just gave authority to these people who are quasi PD, who now can give tickets to folks, and I'm sure they're so trauma informed, right? So they're just going to walk up to a person in a mental health crisis and just, hey, you can't sit here, you're going to need to move, you want some yeah, it's going to be just like that. Sure, right? Because that's how it's been in this town with the deadliest police force in the United States. Yeah, they give warnings and they're so compassionate. That's not the videos we're getting, and those aren't the stories we're getting. So this city's going to be paying a lot in fines and civil rights suits because of this ordinance. So how about, Keller, we just avoid all that and don't enforce the ordinance, which is what you could do. You could direct Chief Barker and APD to not enforce this very cruel law, or you could get it rescinded. You could use your leadership. And the way that budget went last night at city council meeting, I could tell that you aren't demonstrating any leadership. That was a dumpster fire, and it's because you're a weak leader and because you didn't do the leadership things you could have done to get people together before a massive 6-hour ridiculousness, amendment after amendment after amendment on your budget, when you could have negotiated that ahead of time, had you, well, you are no leader. So thank you to Resist Tyranny Tuesday for getting out there and sitting down today and doing a good sit-in for the homeless. So it's housing, not handcuffs. Good job, Resist Tyranny Tuesday. Thank you, Ray Ellen.